Thank you, Kelly, and thank you to everyone for joining us on this snowy Thursday morning. So the Pequea Creek project didn't begin with just speaking to the landowner and our neighboring municipalities. It actually began about 2 years prior to speaking with the landowner through a Pequea watershed baseline study that Pequea Township, Strasburg Borough, West Lampeter Township, and East Lampeter Township joined together to have prepared by land studies. And that was actually finished in September of 2016 when we determined that this would be the most ideal project in order for at least 2 of the municipalities to meet all of the reduction requirements for their portion of the Pequea Creek. Now, Pequea Township decided that they were not going to continue to participate in the project after the implementation strategies and baseline study was finalized, which was fine. But we did move forward with discussions with the landowner.
Yeah, in late 2016, I'm thinking it was like December of 2016, we met with the property owner, the owner of Millbridge Camp Resort, and explained our project, and he was well on board from the start. We applied for the grant in February of 2017, entered into an intermunicipal agreement with all the partners in November of 2017. So you can see it was a long process to start, and we don't even have a project started yet. We were awarded just under $200,000 for the project.
So as Charlie indicated, Strasburg Borough, West Lampeter Township, and East Lampeter Township entered into an intermunicipal agreement. And through that agreement, we determined that East Lampeter Township would take the lead on the project management and on the grant administration. Due to the fact that we had a shared stormwater coordinator at the time with West Lampeter Township, that made complete sense for everyone that was involved. Strasburg Borough is somewhat disassociated with the Pequea Creek as a whole because they're surrounded by Strasburg Township. And however, their watershed includes Pequea Creek. So they were able to join our effort, and DEP approved of that joint effort as we move forward.
Tara and Charlie, this is Kelly. I'm so sorry to interrupt. We are just on the participant side. We're just seeing your title slide, and I'm assuming that you're trying to show us some really great content beyond that.
I will actually move to that in just a minute.
Oh, perfect. Okay, we just wanted to make sure that we weren't missing anything, because that would be sad for us.
Yeah, no, we haven't quite gotten there.
Okay, perfect. We just wanted to make sure. Can everybody else in the chat, can you hopefully see their title slide? I think that was just a concern. Somebody said we didn't see any slides, so we just wanted to make sure that we weren't frozen or something along those lines. Okay, and then Liz, did you want to mention something about audio? We're just getting a little feedback. Can you just back away from your microphones a tad? I know there's a push and pull between being loud enough and then not getting static.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was the only thing I was going to mention. Sorry.
Thank you so much. So sorry to interrupt.
No worries. So I believe it's crucial to have one municipality take that lead in both project management and grant administration. However, it was essential that we kept the lines of communication open and collaborated with both Strasburg Borough and West Lampeter Township throughout the entire process. So we moved forward with the design that everyone agreed to. There was a bench designed in the stream, and the landowner agreed to that. However, if everyone remembers 2018, which is how long it took us to get to the point where we were ready to move forward, we had excessive flows. significantly higher flows in the stream, which would have doubled the cost of the project for a pump around to place the bench within the stream. The pictures now on the screen are the creek prior to the project, the Millbridge Campground, which is in the bottom picture on the right-hand side, would flood significantly to the point where they would have to evacuate their campers that were all along the grassy edge there. So, as Charlie stated, the campground owner was absolutely in favor of moving forward with this. He was even on board with the bench design at first, and then when we got the figures back for the pump around, we had to rethink that very quickly. So we moved forward with all of permitting. Now, unfortunately, permitting took quite some time. Permitting was through DEP and through the Army Corps. We had significant delays in permitting, 18-month delays, if I remember correctly. And at the same time, we asked for an extension of the grant money and were denied through DEP. So that left us with 6 weeks to construct the project. The only way we were able to finalize this project in time for the grant requirements was for the design build. And basically, Land Studies came in, hired a contractor, designed it as they were moving through the project. We got immediate buy-in from the landowner with the changed design. The contractor that Land Studies hired was fantastic, moved through the project in such a swift way that the Millbridge camp owner was not put out of being able to rent the campground spaces for more than 2 weeks, I believe it was. And that was at a period of time where he would have had a full campground. So he was significantly grateful for the speed in which the construction of the project happened. Those open lines of communication with our municipal partners were essential because of the fact that it was delayed so significantly with both Army Corps and DEP permitting, but also our line of communication with the grant coordinator at DEP was extremely helpful as well. And she was able to let us know well in advance that we would not be getting a permit, or excuse me, a time extension for the grant application. In the end, we were able to do a stream bank restoration of 920 linear feet and floodplain expansion of the Pequea Creek. That allowed for a reduction for Strasburg Borough of 24,000 pounds of sediment, for East Lampeter Township, 54,500 pounds of sediment, and for West Lampeter Township, 118,000 pounds of sediment. So in the end, it met all the reduction requirements for Strasburg Borough. It met all of the reduction requirements for East Lampeter Township, and it met a portion of the reduction requirements for West Lampeter Township. Now, their boundary is the Pequea Creek, as is ours. However, their reduction requirements in the Pequea are significantly higher because of the linear footage that they have within the Pequea Creek. So they needed to continue to do other projects. So this was all accomplished, although we started prior to this permit cycle, 2018 to 2023, we were able to accomplish the project in this permit cycle and take the credits for that. So In the end, the project moved forward. This is the project area. As you can see, Millbridge Campground is on the south side. Now, this also included on the right side of this map is Paradise Township. We did contact Paradise Township and inquire as to whether or not they were willing to join the project as well, and then we could extend the stream bank restoration. However, they did opt out of doing so. The left side where it indicates the start of the project area is a bridge, a state bridge that will be restored in the next few years. And there was a covered bridge there, which was taken out prior to this project, and thus we were able to expand just slightly where that covered bridge was. The project for the bridge then on the left side of this map will have additional plantings then with it. So this is during construction, and like I said, we had a very short construction period here, and they just brought in everyone they possibly could with the excavation. And then Land Studies had their own team planting all of the vegetation that went into the stream bank restoration and floodplain expansion. And then this is what the project looked like prior to our snow this winter. There was an educational sign placed there. The stream banks were pulled back and restored. The floodplain expanded, and just past that bridge that you see on the left side of the picture, there is a monitoring station that we anticipate collecting information from in the future. It's been there for a number of years, and therefore we can do comparisons of prior to the stream bank restoration and then post stream bank restoration. Anecdotally, the Millbridge camp owner indicated that when we got significant rainfall in 2019, late 2019, he did not have to move a single camper along the stream bank. So prior years, if the amount of rain was as significant as it was in 2019, there would have been a need to evacuate those campers along the stream bank there. So as I indicated, there is educational signage there, and the campground has indicated that they have a number of individuals that visit that signage because they were actually able to put the mill back into a rotation with a portion of the redesign here, so that the mill wheel can actually turn at this point, and that has attracted a number of both onlookers from the roadway and from the campground as well. In the end, even though we had a number of delays and the design build had to change basically in the middle of the process, the project came in just under budget and by about $3,000, I believe. So we were able to maintain the funds that we had available, and the project in the end has been a great benefit for Strasburg Borough, West Lampeter Township, East Lampeter Township in the reductions that have occurred, as well as for the landowner. This was one of those projects where we truly came out in the end with a mutually beneficial project for all involved.
We did enter into an O&M agreement with the property owner. The township signed off. We maintain the first 2 years, which our public works staff takes care of. The property owner, as we stated before, has bought into this project. So he had his maintenance staff actually work with our public works staff the past 2 years just to learn everything that's going to need to be done to maintain these slopes. The township is required to maintain the slopes for the first 2 years, which this year, this growing season is our last year to maintain. And then everything is turned over to the property owner. This is a recorded document that he has agreed to. We have the right to go in and inspect. So far, everything's been working great. There's very little erosion anywhere. We lost a couple plants during the one big storm, but with the monies that we had, we were able to replace those. Tara did mention the paperwork. I would suggest to everybody, make sure you stay on top of your paperwork, because coming down to the end, you got to cross every T there, dollar for dollar. You got to make sure everything's accounted for.
So we'd be happy to take any questions. I see that there have been some questions.
Yeah, Tara, this is Kelly. I'll go ahead and just kind of read them off in the list.
Okay.
And then you can take them. All right, so we have one question. How did Strasburg Borough get a reduction from this project? Aren't they far away from this site? And same with West Lampeter.
Actually, West Lampeter Township is joining to this because West Lampeter and East Lampeter join along the Pequea Creek. We were able to include Strasburg Borough in this at the direction of DEP, because their watershed actually is part of the Pequea Creek. And so Strasburg Township was not involved, which would be, again, directly adjacent to this, but because they were in an NOI situation and they don't have a permit at this point, or at the point that we started this project. I have not followed along whether they have one currently. So Strasburg Borough was able to claim the credits, as well as West Lampeter, because of proximity within the watershed. And again, we did have to have that approved prior to moving forward with the project, and we did get that approval and agreement through DEP.
Okay, great. Let's see. There was another question that I saw. Well, this is more of a comment, but you may have something to add to this. It says, if an intergovernmental agreement exists in a watershed that all the municipalities contribute runoff to, it's up to the agreement how the credits get dispersed, often related to monetary involvement. DEP will only decide how many credits the overall project is awarded. So that was a comment from one of our participants. I don't know if you have anything to add to that. Oh, and another one just popped in. I'll let you respond to that comment, though, if you have any additional thoughts.
So that's absolutely correct. So DEP, we went to DEP and said, look, this is the amount of linear footage that we can restore in this watershed along the creek here. And we then formed the agreement, the intermunicipal agreement, which said, you know, Strasburg Borough needs this much in reduction, and West Lampeter needs this much, and East Lampeter needs this much. And then we associated the reductions with a dollar figure by percentage. And so there was money contributed from West Lampeter, monies contributed from Strasburg Borough, monies contributed from East Lampeter Township, in addition to us overseeing the project management and grant administration for the project, so that we were each putting our portions into the project that made sense for the reductions that we would be receiving in this grant permit, or excuse me, in this permit cycle.
Okay, and now another question came in, and you sort of touched on this, I think, but maybe there's more to say. How was credit calculated and approved by DEP?
Yeah, so DEP approved our calculations overall, and they approved that we could work as an intermunicipal group so that we could each claim the credit for the project.
Okay, and then another sort of clarifying question. So Strasburg got credits because they contributed money, as opposed to them getting credits because of actual improvements within the borough?
So Strasburg Borough, West Lampeter Township, East Lampeter Township all contributed money. We all got reduction credits because we all have part of the Pequea Creek watershed.
So it's not necessarily adjacent to the Pequea Creek itself, but within the watershed boundary.
That's correct.
And folks, if I've posed your question to the presenters and you want to clarify or follow up, feel free to add something into the chat.
I see that someone asked about the bench, and
Right, thank you.
No worries. I'm happy to, I'm not an engineer by any means. So the bench is a long flat area, and so think of it as this middle picture here where there's this long flat area, and then it has slopes on the side that incline to the land. It has distinctly steeper slopes than any other natural area would have. So that is the type. So this isn't really this picture isn't really a full bench within the stream, but it gives the idea. If this were underwater in the stream, this is what a bench would look like. So we had a substantial bench that was designed on the opposite side of where you're seeing this picture now. Actually, because we were having significant erosion of the stream bank on the north side. Let me go back. On the north side of the project, we have a roadway, Soudersburg Road, that is directly adjacent to Pequea Creek. That road was actually, we had some areas where we had to put boulders in to stop the erosion because we weren't able to put this bench in.
Also, on the Soudersburg side, the north side of the creek, we did work close with the fire department also because they do have a fire in the area. There is no water system, so they do draft out of the stream. So we actually made a couple small areas where they could get their fire apparatus into the area to draft out of the stream. If we were able to do the project on the north side, we were going to make it a lot easier for them, but we did actually give them access to the stream from north or south Soudersburg Road.
Okay, great. Thank you for catching that bench question. There's another one in there that I'm getting to. Let's see. It had to do with the credit calculation method. So was the credit calculated by linear feet or expert panels, the BEHI, or another method?
So if I remember correctly, this is testing my memory, it was by the expert panel calculations. I do believe that originally we went in with map shed calculations, and that was not accepted, but the expert panel were.
Great, thank you. So I have a question for you. Out of curiosity, has there been any issue with campers, kind of going down those stream banks or, causing any sort of slope failure? I imagine given it's a heavily used area, there could be some potential issues. Is the public education sign significant enough to kind of let people know that this is a special area?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. At first, the campers were thinking about taking their kayaks down over the stream bank, down easy access. We did work with the property owner. There was safety fence installed right along the back of the campsites that border the stream. Once the plants were established, we actually worked with the property owner and we moved the safety fence back partway down the embankment. And he's letting the campers know there's no access down along the stream there. They have to go down towards the bridge along South Bronx Road or north area of our project. There is a put in place for their kayaks. But yes, that was well thought out that this cannot be a super highway going down over the embankments now.
Because it's really pretty and probably very tempting. Let's see. So there's another question. If I remember correctly, the cows used to walk in the creek by the campground. Do they still have access?
Not to my knowledge. I'm not sure if there's a wire fence north of this or upstream from this project, up on the next property owners. I know the campground does own a few hundred feet above his property due to the mill, but I think they worked something out with the farmer to have some type of fence in the stream.
Great. I have one other question since I don't see any more from participants at the moment. You had mentioned the delays with permitting, and this is something, that I think is typical of some projects, but do you think the 18 months was a more significant delay than what usually is experienced with permitting these types of projects? And do you have any thoughts on, why that delay occurred and what folks might be able to do to avoid such delays if they're doing similar projects?
So at the time, Kelly, it felt like it was forever, and that yes, it was more significant than it should be. But looking back, it's probably as lengthy as other permitting delays that have happened in other municipalities.
Just one thing that I've learned from DEP, they have a new permitting guide out. Are you aware of that, or have you seen that? That might be a resource. I think the goal is to help expedite that process moving forward for projects, watershed projects that need to go through the permitting process. I think it was just released this year. Have you seen that at all?
I have not seen that yet.
And the reason I know about it is just from like the 319 non-point source side, but that might be something we had talked about developing sort of a library of resources, and I'd be happy to add that resource if folks would be interested in it.
I think that would be valuable.
Anybody else in the session have questions for Tara or Charlie? It seems like a really great project. Everyone needs coffee still, I think. Any other questions? I've written more down, I'm trying to see if my questions were answered or not.
If there are no others at this time, we are always happy to talk to anyone, but by all means, just reach out to us. We're happy to share all the good points and the bad points.
When you say you came in under budget and you had $3K remaining, do those monies have to go back, or those, match funds, or are they part of the grant? What did you get to do with that remaining $3K? When you had those plants to replace, did that money go towards, plant replacement?
Some of the funds did go towards plant replacement, and we did not obviously get all of the funds through the grant since we didn't, spend all of the funds. So the funds actually were a reduction in the total grant amount and not a reduction in the municipal contribution.
Okay. I think another aspect of this project that's really cool is the fact that the campground maintenance staff are working with the township staff to learn maintenance. What sorts of, training specifically in terms of like how to mow and what techniques to use? Can you speak a little bit about the O&M?
Yeah, in our public works department, we do have 2 licensed sprayers with their pesticide license. So they're all up to speed on all the plants, maintenance around the plants, all the caring. The public works department was a little, I don't want to say shy, but there was some weeding. There was some handwork to do, but the camp staff did get right in there and get right along with us. but we do have experienced people. The campground does have one person on their staff that is experienced with spraying, licensed, especially near a stream, and they're right on board. They jumped right in, and hand to hand, everybody's working side by side there to make this happen. And they are in understanding that this will be our last year, and they're ready to take it over. And of course, our door is always open. Any questions or concerns, our guys are going to be checking up on it periodically.
That's such a great partnership. So 2 other questions have come in. Will monitoring be done post-construction to see if additional credit can be earned?
Actually, we will be monitoring post-construction. This because it's one of our PRP projects. We do want to understand the stream monitor that is just beyond the bridge, so that we can see what the actual changes are due to the project. So if we can acquire other credits, we absolutely will. But any municipality that wouldn't look at that would be silly. So yes, we will be monitoring it. We will be looking for any additional credits that might be out there.
Great. Another one is legacy sediment removal. Was that a part of this project?
At the time that the project went in, we did not have legacy sediment removal as a part of the project.
Okay. And also another question, you have a lovely township park along Mill Creek. Do you have plans to do any sort of project there?
Actually, we do have one in the works right now. Just on the township side, it's East Lampeter Township Community Park. On the township side, we're looking at stream bank restoration and buffer. We're also making contact with the farmer on the opposite side of the stream to see if we can partner with him, because he doesn't farm right up to the stream. We do have a sanitary sewer easement there, so he stays out of that. He can't place or plant anything in that easement. So it gives us a good shot to be able to do something on the opposite side of the stream. We do not have a design fully yet. We're starting to reach out looking for funds, but it is in the process to do something there at Community Park.
Great, thanks. Well, I think this project is so wonderful. Just all the challenges that you've mentioned that you had to address and overcome and still have such a positive perspective on this experience. It definitely, I think, gives people hope when, things don't necessarily go as planned, that you can still come out the other side and feel good about what you've accomplished and obviously be willing to try other projects. So that's wonderful.